My name is Mackenzy Vida. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I focus on printmaking and murals. A lot of my designs take inspiration from the world around me, and I've recently started to work with traditional designs from my family, with Ukrainian from my mother's side. So with my process, I'll do some sketches and thumbnails of a project, and I'll think like, what's the message I want to communicate? How do I want to connect with people? What can I say with this piece? Because sometimes I don't know the words that I want to say to someone, so visual representation is huge for me. Well, really, I fearlessly take an idea and run with it, because the sooner I get started, the sooner I can fail and fix my mistakes, and I learn from it and I grow from it, and I take each piece as a learning opportunity. So it starts with a sketch, and from your sketch you put it onto a transparency like this, and blast it with light on an exposure unit, and everything that's black blocks the light. So then everything in black is going to stay on your screen just like that, and then you'll be able to print it. You push the ink through. So you've probably seen videos of people with a little squeegee, and you put ink here and then you squish it through, then when you pull it up you have a nice image. And in between each color, you have to cure your ink just so it sets, and then you redo it as many layers as you want. The more colors is more layers. That's basically it in a nutshell. And with that you can expand, and you can do prints, and you can do tote bags, and you can do anything with it. I take a lot of inspiration from artists who want to communicate a message and want to, like, what are they trying to say with their work, and how can I do that? And how can I evoke thought with people? And how can I start a conversation just from a piece? I found a quote that says, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And artists like Christy Belcourt, who is like a grassroots Canadian artist who really the support of her community helped her be where she is today, and she's done incredible collaborations with like Isaac Murdoch, and their work speaks volumes to like Indigenous issues in our country, and it's incredibly important that we all, come together and support each other and think, okay, well, what are these changes that we want to bring forward, and how can we do this, rather than just talk about it and say like, yeah, we're all into this, like, how can we actually do it, and how can we actually like raise awareness and keep people connected and informed. So my studio process is, this is my primary studio, and I'm very fortunate to have the space on campus. I also have a beautiful house in Cathedral with my roommates, where I have a little studio in my room because I have the top loft, which is incredible. This is like, younger me is like blown away. Like, if she can meet me now, she'd be like, oh my God, you did it. You're being an artist. So with my studio process on campus, I had to be more strict with myself and be like, okay, you have these hours to go. These are your hours. Like, go if you want to make stuff. But yeah, I'm always sketching. My parents are artists as well, so they were always sketching and doing projects, and I come from a really creative family. Like, my sister draws too, and she's an incredible digital artist. But yeah, just sketching all the time, and knowing that sketches aren't precious. You can make an ugly sketch and maybe it's going to inspire a new project, or maybe it's just going to be funny for you to look at later. But just allowing yourself the freedom to create, and allowing things to not be perfect, and just knowing that it's part of the process has been so freeing for me. And it's also comforting for me to sketch. I think it's an anxiety thing, where like, I just need to be doing something and just like getting it on paper so it's out of my head. That was an incredible process that I found last year. Is just, if I'm going through something really tough, or like my mental health is just like bad vibes, doing art, it's a way for me to be like, hey, get it out, get it on a page, and then you're done with it. Like, I did a lot of art therapy as a kid, so that was like, I was like, oh, okay, this is like, it's just innate now. I have lines and lines of sketchbooks from the years, and I think just as like self-documentation, I would be like, okay, I had this idea a few years ago, or like, I have this thing I want to revisit, because I know I'll forget otherwise. And I always like to cover them in stickers. It's fun, and it's, yeah, just again, being unapologetic with my work, and notes to myself, reminders, like ideas for later, things. Some of it never sees the light of day. This one's a specific printmaking one, because I'm like, That's the other thing, is sometimes it's like, well, that sketchbook is at home and this one's at the studio, and it's okay, just keep them in your bag, you always know where they are. But yeah, keeping a timeline, keeping tasks for myself, so it's like when you show up, this is what you have to do, because no one's gonna keep you accountable but yourself. So I'm my supervisor, my producer, my personal assistant. I play all the roles. Again, it's a way for me to keep track and just like, so then if I get here and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, I can be like, okay, look at the sketches. There's just so much down here. Like there's so much potential. And as an artist, it was a little paralyzing at first because I'm like, the studio's full of old equipment and these antique machines that like, who am I to be down here working? But also just to give myself permission. Because I'm like, I'm here to create, and so is everyone else. And the community, like even though it's COVID, like the community in the studio is incredible. And like just having that kinship among other artists, like, oh my God, like I'm like, this is incredible. It's so inspiring to be here. My favorite piece of equipment in the studio is a CMP letterpress, and it's 100 years old. We have thousands of typesets to choose from, and it's just so satisfying to use, and you can see the gears turn, and it makes such a pleasing noise. Someone actually gave me my own typeset. They got it for $5 at a garage sale, but it's all the original pieces of type, and they're these little tiny letters. It was probably used for like serial numbers or something, but they're just these like little tiny letters. It's so satisfying to print with, and everything. You kind of develop your own dance when you're in the studio, because okay, your paper has to sit for an hour and this has to sit for 30 minutes, and well, I could print this many things in 15 minutes and then switch this over, so it really becomes a rhythmic dance that you develop. So this year I decided that I was going to do murals, and I bought a bunch of spray paint, and I didn't touch it for a bit because I was very intimidated, and then I got the courage this summer, and I found myself with a lot of free time, and I was like, it's right now, like just start, just go. So our fence that's falling apart, I was like, great, it's a low stakes project that I can just play. I have the freedom to just go. So I did a coat of black paint, and then I started doing, and I started feeling, okay, like, again, trial and error, just, okay, when I spray this, it drips, and that's too much. Is that cool? Can it work to my advantage? And it's just a wall of, it felt like a sketchbook. It was just very, like, whatever I felt inspired to do, and I drew inspiration from things my roommates liked, or just inside jokes, or things that would delight people when they walk by, just as a fun, playful piece. And I was working on it on a time when my mental health was really bad, and I was really struggling, but I could get up and I could go outside and just work. And the sunflower piece actually was inspired by the whole time I was working on the mural, this plant was growing. And I was like, okay, it's kind of weird. This is an alley, and no one planted anything. And then by the time I was done the mural, this giant sunflower had bloomed with all these heads of flowers. And I was like, what? You're literally growing in gravel. And to me, that was a representation of resilience and just the growth that has come through this year, and the time that I spent on the mural. This incredible sunflower beast bloomed, and I was like, okay, I gotta make art about that, because it sparked this like fire inside of me, where I was like, I have to create, I have to keep going, I have to keep making, and if nothing else, I can make art. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with myself, but I know I can make art. And then I got a commission, I got another commission, and I have people asking for these large-scale murals, and I'm like, I guess I do this now. This is something I've always wanted to do, I just haven't had the courage. And yeah, I'm so glad I took the jump. So the other murals, there is one at my parents' house, and there's one alongside their fence. So there's two murals at my parents' house. There's one on their garage door, and there's one on the fence that goes along their garden. So everyone who goes by the alley gets to see it. And there's another these prairie lilies. They're just a nice representation of where we are, and it's easily recognizable. People are like, oh, cool, like a surprise and delight kind of thing. It's like, oh, that's there. But yeah, it's gonna be, I'm already blocking out my summer for next year just to see how much I can do. And I've pretty much covered my entire fence, front and back and alongside my house, just because I had the time and the opportunity, so I thought I might as well. Totally different medium. I was like, it's so cool, like what you can create with it. Learning how to do this like airbrush technique to create like a glow effect. I've also been looking at artists who do like a neon style art, so it looks like you're looking at it looks like a 3D piece and it glows. Like it's incredible, and like it brightens up a space, and I want to get better at that so I can, do it for more people and just be like, let me make your alley pretty, let me brighten up downtown. Like, and I'd had people ask me, people approach, and I'd be like, no, I'm not ready, I don't know how, I can't, ask someone else. And I would do that with commissions too. People would be like, do you want to cut? And I'd be like, no, I can't. No, I'm actually not an artist. No, I don't do art. And I was like, why am I self-sabotaging? But a lot of artists struggle with that and self-doubt. And the more I create, the more I'm like, okay, no, I know what I'm doing. I can silence that self-doubt. The advice that I would give to an up-and-coming artist is the same advice I wish I could give my younger self. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you spend your whole time looking at artists who have had 10 years on you, even a year on you, you're always gonna be picking yourself apart, and your time that you could spend creating and sketching and learning about yourself and developing your style is just gonna be you're not doing yourself any favors. Just know that your path is your own, and there will be other people with their journeys, but it's not a competition. You're all here everyone is creating in their own unique ways, and these are your peers and your friends and your collaborators. They're not your competition. And once I was able to drop that part of the ego that was so worried about what other people are doing, and just found peace in my own work and able to celebrate with my friends and celebrate their accomplishments rather than be like, oh, why didn't I get that? I'm so much happier. If I wake up and have a creative block, or I'm like, today's just not the day, I'll return to my sketchbook and do like playful, low stakes, funny sketches that are just like, oh, this kind of looks like this, or like my cat did this funny thing. Like it just returning to play and bringing humor back to my work. And that's how the multinational times yellow submarine piece came to be. I was like, dude, I don't know. And one of my roommates worked at Multi, and a lot of our friends are there. And I was like, oh, the logo kind of looks like yellow submarine. The logo kind of looks like yellow submarine. Oh, okay, cool. And I made it, and everyone fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, awesome. So a lot of the times some of my best stuff has come from my lowest places, whether I'm working through, again, like a mental health low point, or just I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, is a return to humor. And just, it's play, it's fun, and art should be fun, and creating should be fun, and it shouldn't be a chore, and it shouldn't feel like pulling teeth, and just low stakes sketches. I'm creating, and right now I have this passion and this fire. It's just not to go so hard so that I burn out, but it's to stay at a consistent pace where I'm comfortable, but I'm pushing myself and stretching myself to learn. My long-term goal would be to show people that you don't need to leave the city to find opportunities. And my parents are from Ontario, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna move back to Ontario. I don't wanna be here, even though my community is here, my friends are here, and there's incredible opportunities, and you don't have to leave. And it's not to say like, stay here, but also like look at the opportunity in our city, and there's artists who want to work with you, and there are people who want to collaborate with you. So just look up. Don't, if you're down like this, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see the opportunities, and you keep those blinders on, then it's is again, it's not helpful for you, and it's draining. But I want to show people the opportunities here and how beautiful we can make the city, and how there's so many amazing creative people, and I want to help them and just be like, hey, cool, let's do this project together. Let's uplift other artists, and yeah, I really want to just brighten up the city and keep doing murals, and obviously I want to be an artist full time. So this piece is an image that I created in Photoshop. A friend of mine is a photographer, and she was like, I love the prints you make. Could you make me something? So she sent me images of all these cameras, and I took it in Photoshop, and it's like a collage. I cut it up and morphed the images. I asked another friend for some film negatives, and I created this piece, which is a UV screen print, and I got all the colors. So the color palette looks the way it does because it's a CMYK color separation. So the final image I had in Photoshop, I separated it into 4 layers, which is how I got this sample piece. This is a visual representation of what I did. So it separates it to blue, pink, and yellow, and then the key image is black. So when you print all of those together, it mixes the colors just enough to create this one. And because you're the physical press and you're the one responsible for how much pressure, you also are the one who could screw it up or add too much yellow or add too much blue, and that will change the tones of the image. This one is going to be featured in a printmaking exhibition in Hamilton, Ontario at Queen's University, happening next month. So that's super exciting. As an emerging printmaker and artist, that was like, oh my God, huge for me. But yeah, this one has stolen the hearts of many people, and this is an original, but then I made some digital copies, and I was able to sell those, and that was my first time doing that, so this is huge for me. Yeah.